Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Ultra Fusion Thursday Night Hangout.
You know why it's a great night to be alive, Charlie?
It's a Thursday night.
And we're alive, so it's the best day ever. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we always do every single, what I always do every Thursday night, of course, is I get my do on. So let's do the do.
You know why I like to do the do?
Why?
Because I get to watch you drink sugar, and it's a beautiful thing to behold. Yeah!
Doing the do.
Wacken knows why life is good, and it's all about the do, right? Oh my, look at that. Bubbles and sugar attacking the war eagle.
That's actually a tiger.
What about a war tiger?
Sure. Look at that.
The tiger of wars.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it.
Our first topic is about the Steam game demo mode.
Okay, so this is kind of an interesting thing, and I know a lot of people... You know what? It was... When it first came to be known that you basically had two hours worth of gameplay where you could ask for a refund from Steam to get a full refund. Now remember, there's probably some like... what do we call it? There was probably some people out there who were totally like pissed because their games are even 2 hours long. Backlash, yes. Holy cow.
What? Your CPU spiking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Are we dropping frames? Yeah, we're dropping frames. Interesting. Ask him if we're dying or not. Anyways, okay, so the Steam demo mode. Well, okay, fine. The Steam refund piece. Also, I thought there was like you could only do so many refunds per year. Or am I like dreaming that one up?
It's very possible. Well, I know sometimes what they do, some of the stuff, especially like if you're past the initial mark, or say like iOS, you accidentally purchase like a whole bunch of in-game currency, so you can get a refund, but it's usually like a one-time deal, basically.
All right. The reason why we bring this up is that you may have noticed there's a new game called Prey that's coming out very, very soon. And people have been asking the developers, hey, I don't get it. Why do you have an Xbox? You go ahead and close that one right there. That's fine. Why do you have... Oh, yeah, there we go. That's the problem right there. Why do you have an Xbox demo and a PC demo?
It's a great question. Why would you?
I'm sorry. Oh, my God, my brain is... Why do you have an Xbox demo and a PlayStation demo but not a PC demo? Mm-hmm. And the developers actually came back and said... Yeah, you can close that. Well, actually, we figured that you're going to get it through Steam anyways, and a demo is less than 2 hours. So if you don't like the game after playing less than 2 hours, you can get your full money back.
Right on.
And so everyone, of course, this brings back the... Now developers actually praising this system of refund.
How come?
Because now they don't have to worry about doing a demo for the game.
But demos, I wanted to be like 1986 where I got my demo disc in the magazine. No. It was a nostalgia, man. So basically you're saying you have an hour and 58-minute demo. Yes,
of a finished product.
Which is pretty cool.
No.
Yeah, I like the idea because you get to actually play the game and see. And the other nice thing too is because if you play this and you don't like it, okay, you're fine it.
Yep.
But you also know if you play it and you like it, nothing changes.
Yep.
Because some demos might be like, especially back in the day, you basically had to replay over again. Where now, if you keep it, great. If not, so to me, it's a win-win. So I think it's a pretty cool system that you get to do with the demo. Basically a glorified demo system, really. I mean, why not? It means you also get... The other thing with demos is sometimes they take out some of what you can actually do in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't actually know if you're getting that full experience because maybe you're limited in the weapons you can use or what
Mm-hmm.
levels.
Mm-hmm.
No, now you get the full single-player, multiplayer, weapons, whatever there's in the game to really see, do I like everything in the game or not?
Right.
So for me, I think it's a pretty cool system. And for a developer, I mean, it's not going to cost you an extra money. Why the heck not?
True. And the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that developers have to spend a lot of extra money to create a demo that it's probably going to be, I mean, yeah, it'll be good, but...
I can't just delete 80% of my code.
No, that doesn't work that way. I mean, you literally have to build a separate game demo for the game. So there's, it takes a lot more time. But if you do this system where if you play the game and before 2 hours is up, you refund your money, that's your demo. And if you like the game, then of course you continue on. You don't lose any of your progression. That seems like a win-win to me. It'll be very interesting. I mean, I wonder if this goes very well.
Okay.
if maybe there's a company out there, maybe a couple extra ones that go, you know what, that's a really good idea. Let's not make a demo. We'll just do the 2-hour thing. Now, of course, you run into the issue of some of the games are not 2 hours long.
Yes, this is true. So if like episodic content, for instance.
Yeah, episodic content usually lasts anywhere between an hour, 45 minutes to like 3 hours.
So you conceivably could beat your entire episode of content and get a refund on it.
Yep.
Which obviously we're not promoting.
No.
I mean, it's different getting a refund in a game like Prey where you're playing it as a demo to see if you like it.
Which probably got at least, I don't know, bare minimum, probably 10 hours of content. So you get to play like a fifth of the game.
Versus a game like a Telltale point-and-click adventure, which is an hour and a half for that episode, then that's just being a dick if you play the entire game. It's kind of like if you go to a restaurant and you have like 2 bites. You're like, I don't like this food. Like, this is terrible. Then you're like, okay, let's work something out. Versus if you go to a restaurant, you eat the entire damn sandwich, you're like, I really don't like that food.
No, it's like, it'd be like having a time limit on your food. If your food sits in front of you for longer than 25 minutes, you have to pay for it. But if you can eat your food under 25 minutes, you can say, you know what, I really didn't like it, and you get a full refund.
That's kind of what I had to do at the dinner table when I was growing up because I was such a slow eater, is I had a little timer that I had to eat my food, and I really don't remember what happened if I didn't eat it, but there was a definitely timer because I was such
Probably
a
no
slow
dessert.
We didn't really have desserts growing up. I remember I had to catch a table to finish my cup of milk because I hate milk. So I'd like sit there for hours just staring at a glass of milk.
You know it tastes worse the longer you let it sit, right?
Look, when you're like 8 years old, that doesn't go through the thought process.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic. The next topic is, can spiritual successors through Kickstarter really live up to the hype? Now, there have been a ton of spiritual successors that have gone through Kickstarter. One of the ones that comes to mind almost immediately is Mighty Number 9. To mine is Mighty Number 9. And Mighty Number 9 is basically the spiritual successor to Mega Man. And of course, that game has been hit with delays. It's not anywhere near what people wanted in the game. And so,
well, it always creates, anytime you have a spiritual successor, it's probably just something that has some nostalgia effect. You're always going to create crazy expectations. That's just how it is. And then usually, Kickstarter, then all of a sudden, yay, spiritual successor. We're going to raise a lot of money. Now we have stretch goals. And we all know how stretch goals go in Kickstarter. And
well, you can even think about it without the stretch goal aspect. You can also think about somebody trying to create a spiritual successor, even if they own the IP or they worked on the original IP. They may not have the same brains and minds behind the scenes that they had before. And so what they thought would be easy becomes a lot more difficult because probably if you're doing a spiritual successor and you have the IP or something close to it, you probably don't have access to the old code. So you're having to build everything back from the ground up. So trying to, recreate the wheel because you no longer have access to the blueprints for said wheel, that could lead to mistakes as well. You don't even have to, yes, stretch goals are the bane of everyone's existence when it comes to getting out of control, but that's not to say that the product would be good if it had just passed that mark.
It definitely seems like unique enterprises are what seems to work the best on Kickstarter.
Yes.
It kind of also, I think, if you're a spiritual successor, you also kind of square yourself into a box a little bit. Because people have certain expectations of what this game should be. Whereas if it's your own unique intellectual property, now you're a little bit free reign and people don't have those certain expectations. And also they're going to say, wait, you're the spiritual successor of Mega Man 9. It should have this, damn it.
So could you, but let's say that, so here's a thought. So unfortunately, the man who came up with Mega Man was the brains behind Mighty Number 9. So you were never, anything that looked kind of like Mega Man, it's got to be a spiritual successor to Mega Man.
Yeah.
Now, the question I have is, let's say that there's someone who maybe somehow got the rights to like a Mega Man, basically, I don't know, something along those lines, but isn't a big name of that project. Would you, as a consumer, would you feel better if it reminds you of instead of spiritual successor of? Do you get?
Yeah.
I feel like if it
It's kinda
reminds me
splitting
of,
hairs a
or
little bit,
kind
yeah.
of like, I think that gives you a little bit more leeway
Yeah.
because then you're not going. This has to be this
I
way.
agree. Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment that, reminding of is very different in that it's just, okay, it's like Mega Man, but it's not the actual successor. Let's take the example we kind of refer to sometimes is Elemental War of Magic, where I know I had so many issues to start with, but the first one was it was the spiritual successor to Master of Magic.
Till the 11th hour. Then they lost the ability to do that, and
Yep.
people still tagged that game with being a spiritual
Exactly,
successor.
and that's what it was. It still is tagged as that. It's not. I mean, yes, it was terrible for other reasons.
Right.
But whereas if it had just been, well, it's going to be like it, maybe, who knows? That's different. But because it's a spiritual successor, you definitely have those expectations set in mind. And obviously, it fell well short of it, but it would have been very hard to meet those very high expectations in the first place.
Absolutely.
Just because that's what you expected. And same, Mega Man's no different. Because Mega Man's obviously, one of those very well-established franchises from back in the Sega days that, the platformers that you love to beat up because you die a lot, and that's okay. But people still love the games. It's going to be hard to make that successful again, just because, not Mega Man itself to make it successful again, but to do the successful spiritual successor. Especially because it's not the same franchise or publisher. I don't know. And Kickstarter's different too, of course.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Kickstarter. The thing is, Kickstarter allows for you to basically reach for the stars and attempt to attain your wildest fantasies or dreams. The unfortunate thing is the execution could be completely screwed.
Yeah, that will definitely happen.
So, yeah. All right, moving on to the next topic. We're flying through here, folks. Okay. Can a story-driven franchise survive after all the original writers are gone? So the reason why I asked this, and this is kind of sad for some people, is that at Valve, there is no longer any individual who worked on the story of Half-Life or Portal. They're all gone now. So the question is, can the franchise still live up to that level with a completely different set of writers behind it?
Well, Portal, I think, can, yes. I think Half-Life, if there's ever a Half-Life 3, it's going to basically be the Diablo, or if there's ever another World of Warcraft syndrome, where no matter what you make, it's never going to live up to the hype. Because it's now, Half-Life 3. When is it finally coming out? If they ever actually make it, it will never be as good as what people are expecting. It's just impossible. It's never going to happen.
See, there's another franchise that technically this happened to them as well, of course, is going to be Halo. But Bungie basically gave the rights. I think Microsoft probably just bought Bungie completely out. And then Microsoft, of course, gave it to Studio 343. So that was probably entire new coders as well as writers. And people have very, very mixed emotions.
Well, I think you can kind of look at movie franchises and TV series for kind of a similar analogy. Where look at TV series and movies where, you have a couple of, let's say, seasons or movies, and the audience comes to have a certain expectation of the plots and the characters and how they interact. And it's not uncommon where if you have a change in writers or in your producers or directors, if you're referring to movies, where if they change, it's like, what the crap? Look at Fast and Furious. What happened to that? You had the first Fast and the Furious, and then 2 and 3, they changed the writers. And all of a sudden, that's one of the reasons Ford kind of got back on track is they brought back the original team. And you see that with movie franchises and televisions over various seasons, where when you have kind of that lead writer leave, the quality tends to go down.
Right.
And it's because you have that certain expectation. And for all you know, let's just say season 4 of television series A would have been a great on its own. But because it followed seasons 1, 2, and 3, there's this cognitive dissonance now where you're expecting what you saw in seasons 1 through 3 to carry over.
Right.
And I think it would be no different in a video game. And so I think from what we've seen in TV and movies, it doesn't work very well when you lose Your
Ooh,
I saw
we
it.
just lost the feed.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, because we're now hosting. Yeah.
Man, we are doing a bang up job today. Have we even been active? I wonder. All right, hold on. All right, I'm gonna try to connect again. The internet gods do not love me.
It's actually kind of a nice way of knowing if you're getting disconnected or not.
Yeah, that's another reason.
There's somebody flying.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
We're back.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like Twitch or OBS does not like us anymore. So, anyways, I think it's like Zealeus and I were saying. I don't know exactly when we got cut off, but the thing is that there's potentially a franchise could survive with all brand new writers. However, like Zealeus stated, since it's going to be, it's not the first one, and technically you're not going to see it by itself. It's not going to be a standalone entity because people are going to relate it to the franchise beforehand, all the pieces of the franchise beforehand. So it could potentially be an amazing game. However, it does not work with the rest of the franchise. And that, of course, could spell doom for anyone and everyone.
Yeah, I think it's hard to, not just in the story, but in gameplay itself when you change stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talk about a lot, like right now you have Mass Effect, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about Mass Effects 1 through 3 is you have some side quests, but it's fairly straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
You have your main quest, you're fighting the Reapers, that's the big thing. You're just kind of straight ahead, bearing, straight ahead. Still a lot of great world, excuse me. A lot of great world building, you know what's going on, but it didn't really deviate from the path too much. And that's kind of what we expect. Boom, you're doing the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to Mass Effect Andromeda, where there's so many damn side quests and other things where it's too easy to lose focus of what are you actually doing in Mass Effect Andromeda. Because there's so many other things going on.
Basically, what I've heard is that people have basically the equivalent of what's it? Andromeda is Skyrim in space.
Yeah, and that's for me one of the. So I've never been a big Skyrim or Oblivion fan because I'm not a big fan of those games with 8,000 things to do. I kind of like to just go almost like an RPG on rails. It's pretty straightforward. There's a few little things here and there, but it's pretty straightforward. And Mass Effect Andromeda is not that anymore. It's like they decided to add on so many quests, kind of like a Skyrim, like you put it, where you kind of lose a little bit of that to me. Or Charlie, one of his favorite examples is Dead Space, where you go from a great horror game, scared the living crap out of people.
And it technically is on rails. I mean, you have a little bit of leeway where you can move into different areas, but the vast majority of it is confined to the inside of a ship or inside of a station. So yeah, you can kind of jump around, but it's not like you have the infinitesimal galaxy that you could land on planets and apparently colonize them.
Yes,
or something like that.
Well, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, but that's not. Well, the bigger issue is not Mass Effect. Dead Space is to change the entire damn game, where it went from the scary game to a game that pleases everybody. Now the kids can play too. Because it's just a shoot 'em game in space instead of a scary game in space. But that's, so, we're talking about, if you change the original writers, you can still keep the original writers, but you still change what the game is at its heart.
The core genre.
Yeah, the core genre, basically. Yeah, but a lot of games do that. It's not the only franchise that's ever done that.
Well, you got a bunch of franchises out there that have added on a multiplayer to games.
Which we know you hate.
If it's a single, if I've spent the entire game in a single player experience and that it's story driven single player experience, why the hell would I want a skirmish mode for whatever reason. This does not pertain to the game whatsoever. Case in point is the Tomb Raider game, the latest Tomb Raider games. You got like your core game where you're sneaking around, you're surviving, you're like hopping down trying to kill people or silence people, and then in the multiplayer thing, it's basically just shoot at people, which to me is like, it'd be like having an adventure game where you're basically, I don't know, let's say that it's like playing Mario, okay? What's up, Tyrannosaurus Rex? Let's say you're like playing Mario, and it's a single player game all the way through, and then right at the end, so there's another mode in there, and it's multiplayer, but instead of Mario and being a platformer, now it's an air hockey game that you have to do competitively. You took away the pipes, the jumps, the power-ups, and you just put something else in there. And you basically just reuse the assets. So Yoshi would be the puck flying across the thing.
That sounds actually like a fun game to me.
No.
I want to play this. I want to go get my Wii U out of the closet that actually left in Minnesota and play this game. Because it probably exists in some fashion.
Nah.
I'm just saying. Yeah, and that's, I don't know. I mean, like the Final Fantasy series. That kind of changes every time a new Final Fantasy comes out.
Well, that's one of the okay, first of all, Final Fantasy was supposed to be the only one.
We know.
But then they basically dicked everyone over and did a very smart move. They made it a precedent that every single time that there's a new Final Fantasy, there's no continuation whatsoever with the previous one. So there was no expectation of building upon the story.
But it actually works for them because it means they can do new and interesting things.
Absolutely. But sometimes you feel like, oh dear God, there's just way too many of them. And you feel like the quality of the gameplay and the mechanics and the story.
Look, just because it's a 40-hour tutorial doesn't mean it was a bad game.
34-hour tutorial.
It depends how slow you are.
Whatever.
Some of us like to take our time and see the sights because 40 hours just wasn't long enough.
Whatever, man.
I give up after like 12.
Yeah. So anyways,
which was actually, it was a beautiful, fun game.
Yeah.
It just dragged on a little.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing about JRPGs. JRPGs are notorious for grinding. And the thing that pissed me off, I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the first ones that did like the real-time battles. And you start in this city, okay? And there's like bounties you could pick up. But these bounties are for characters that you literally have to grind to beat for hours in like the starting area. You
know what?
What?
JRPGs were like the progenitor for microtransaction games as we know it in a way.
Probably. Yeah.
You think about it, and that's where a lot of your microtransactions can come from, especially the gacha games are out of Japan. Mm-hmm. Because it's so, that grinding is so ingrained in that gaming culture. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it works well with microtransactions because now you can speed it up with, your example of, you have to be in that city for hours. Mm-hmm. If you only had to be there for minutes.
Let's say that you get a booster that gives you 3 times experience.
Exactly.
For the next 2 hours.
So those games that already have the grinding mechanic built into it are perfect vehicle for that.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah.
Way to go, Japan, screwing up our microtransaction games.
Way to go, Japan. You allowed us to play video games.
Wait a second.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next one. This one is kind of sad, and I just want to get through this real quick. And this is, it's Allied Strong. Allied was a professional Smite player who had gastroesophageal cancer. That then spread to the lungs. He was told he announced to the world on the 29th that it was terminal, and he had signed his DNR.
Jeez.
Yesterday morning, he was in hospice care. He was heavily sedated, and he passed away. This guy has been one of those like cool dudes that he had like that I'm the shit vibe, but very personable.
Wasn't a dick about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was a streamer. He was an pro esports player. He played for a couple different teams. The last team that he technically played on, he was an alternate, and that of course was Luminosity Games. Mm-hmm. So, if any of you out there do play Smite, you can go to the Smite store, and in the redeem code section, just put #AlliedStrong, and you can get the logo that is right over here. icon.
That's
And
pretty
then
cool.
also you could go to Luminosity Games website, and you can buy an LG uniform shirt for Smite with Allied's name on the back, and all proceeds from those shirts are going to cancer research.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's cancer sucks.
Yeah.
Cancer really, really sucks. And as a person who's had a family member go through all that with stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, I can't even imagine what this family's going through, what the girlfriend's going through, and all the people that he's touched. So, prayers and thoughts. And if you have the ability, donate to cancer research. Let's make this thing go away.
That would be ideal.
Indeed. Okay, we're going to skip over that one and go to the one after it. Yeah, that one. All right, so a question was asked of me this past week, and this is a very popular question, and that is there ever going to be an MMO that is a do anything MMO, and will it succeed? So what we mean by do anything MMO, and this is why I've got the .hack stuff right here, is if you actually watch the anime, basically everyone has their own place. Some people are collectors, some people are shopkeepers, some people are adventurers, some people are lore masters, some people run guilds, some people do like protection. They rent out their it's basically a mercenary outfit, that type of thing. And then of course there's also people who generate quests and bounties and stuff. Amazing thought. It would be awesome to do it, but hell no, that will never work, because the problem is, in order for a game to interpret anything and everything within the game, I mean, the closest you could potentially get to this is probably Minecraft.
See, I disagree with that. Here's why.
Okay.
Okay, let me phrase. From a technological standpoint, I think we'll be able to do it someday. And the reason I say that is there was a time when, 1,000 years ago, we looked up at the moon and we thought we would never get there.
Right.
And, you look at every iteration of technology, and you look back even 50 years ago, and be like, dude, that'll never happen. I mean, look at our cell phones right here, and think about it. When we were growing up, the idea of something like this powerful being in our pocket, was a forethought.
True.
So it might still be some time off, because we also need the AI part, which is not easy.
It would have to be a what do you call it? Procedurally generated world with an AI that can basically interpret. The biggest problem with games is that there's only a limited amount of actions that have been coded in. Fight, run, jump, swim, whatever.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, how do you interpret allowing, there's so many modules that would have to go into this, that you would have to have a building module. You'd have to have like a business ownership module. You'd have to, there's Grand Theft Auto.
It's not only that, it's also probably somebody coming up with a particularly ingenious way of implementing this.
Right.
Kind of like with your graphics cards. It's not just a matter of simply literally refreshing your entire screen every new hertz.
Right.
They basically now they have different technologies, so it's a much more efficient way of also doing it. So it's also, from a challenge standpoint of, like you said, because you have some modules, but how do we do these effectively? So I think from a technological standpoint, I think it'll be possible. I think the bigger issue is the human element.
Yes.
First thing that came to mind to me when this came up of the do anything was this week there's a space game called Elite Dangerous. And there's an author that wrote a book a year ago or so where there's this character, it's Salam, I think is her name, and she was a basically rebel character in it. And so they had this event this week where, based on whether she died or lived, that's how he'd write the book of basically the sequel of what happened in this epic space battle. So there's this group called the Pack who's supposed to be like her defenders, who would defend her to the death. Well, surprise, surprise, the person who actually ended up killing her was a turncoat. He was one of the most notorious, basically, bastards in the game of Elite Dangerous. But basically, we weaseled his way into this, supposedly defender group.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime you have a video game where basically people can be dicks, guess what?
People are going to be dicks.
They're going to be, because there's no real repercussions. I mean, there are some games that have tried, like I know MMOs, what was the game? I'm having a brain fart on the MMO, but basically there is a court where player appointed people, you be voted on the judges, and they could be players, it's Black Desert, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So Black Desert, and you had people you voted on to be judges. But people still didn't care, because whatever the punishment was, people were like, whatever, I'll just bribe a judge to let me off. It's like, okay.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about the closest, in my opinion, the closest thing to a Do Anything MMO is EVE Online.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you could be a mercenary, you could be a defender, you could be a pirate, you could be a miner, you could be a trader. But the thing is that there's still limitation to that. You can't really do anything. It's not like you could set up, your own star base. Or could you? I can't. I haven't played EVE in a long time, so that might be really, really close.
Because if you want to do anything in an MMO, let's just take World of Warcraft. What would probably end up happening if it was truly Do Anything MMO, is basically you would end up getting a shard or server, what do you want to call it, whatever they call it nowadays, where basically some PvP guild would basically encompass the newbie group and just endlessly gank everybody as they came out and do the rest. They'd kill all the flight masters nonstop, all the NPC givers. They would just basically grief the entire server. That's what would end up happening if you could do that constantly without repercussions.
Yeah. It's interesting, and it's an interesting thing, and I would love to play it, but at the same time.
And then they would also don't forget, they would then burn down the inn, and all the inns would be burned down to a crisp and would not rebuild it. It would basically, it'd be like Mordor.
Yeah.
There'd be nothing. It would just be like a wasteland.
Okay, so basically we're talking about, oh my God. I just blanked on the name of the movie. The movie that had Mel Gibson in it. And then they did a remake of it.
Oh, Mad Max?
Yeah, Mad Max.
Yeah.
It's literally Mad Max.
Where you have a few characters, who get the higher level driving skills and they can defend for themselves. Yeah, so you'd have a few people who make it. Sure. But for the most part, yes, you'd be under this crazy regime with crazy people.
Yes.
Mad Max. So I love the idea. I would like to see it more in terms of, I think it depends. When you say do anything, I think a lot depends on what are the PvP abilities.
Right.
How much do you restrict that PvP? And I think because it comes to a certain point, and you kind of have that in a way, and that's why I never played it with, what's that one with dinosaurs?
Oh, God, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I have no idea what the name of it is.
Yeah, so there's a PvP game. It's very PvP-oriented. It has, dinosaurs and shit. And that's one of the reasons I never played it. It's because it's kind of almost like a do-anything game where, you can do whatever the hell you want. And that's why I never played it, because, you're just going to die. Nonstop.
Well, I mean, that
doesn't sound fun.
One of the potential, if I'm going to go back to the dot hack anime, because it's literally the world was basically a do anything.
But you could die in real life, and that's no good.
Okay, well, let's remove your conscience gets separated from your body. If you died in the game, you were dead in real life. Okay, let's remove that piece. But basically, all the shops and stuff was in one of the damn it, I just had it. It's in one of the central cities. The warp points or warp zones or whatever, and those were we've lost the feed again. They're non. Here we go. We're back up. They're non-aggression areas.
Okay. Yeah. And I think something like you'd have to have some kind of compromise.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the next topic and see if we can get through it really, really quick. It's not a really, really quick topic. Yeah, there it is. All right,
yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the GOP's Internet Freedom Bill. Freedom for the Internet! Yeah! Oh, no, that's actually not what that means. The Internet Freedom Act basically states that the ISPs have the freedom to control your internet. So they can throttle your speed. They can basically boost connectivity to certain sites, block sites, slow down, to other places. They could dictate anything. They could basically control every aspect of the internet for you.
Mm-hmm. So here's what drives me crazy about this whole debate, is you get stuff like the GOP saying the Internet Freedom Act, or saying that the whole purpose of the act is to prevent the
FCC
government taking control of the internet and affecting the underlying infrastructure of the internet. The whole point of the net neutrality, what the FCC did, is to make sure the internet stays free of basically any kind of control of what you can do on the internet. That's what has made the internet so successful, is because literally anyone can use the internet and do basically what they want onto it, as long as it's within, legal constraints. You're not, doing illegal things. Yay. And that's basically where this stems from, is years ago, well, actually just last year. So the irony of all of this is one of the biggest opponents of net neutrality is Verizon. And yet you'll see they come out with these advertisements saying, like, we don't mind net neutrality is great. And yet it's really their own suing of the FCC that made this happen in the first place. Because
actually, when the ball really started rolling, it was Verizon and Comcast basically high-fiving each other all the way to the...
Because it was like 2014, the FCC passed some net neutrality regulations that they're okay, but they weren't anything as... I don't want to say the word strict, but they weren't quite as robust. That's a good word, thank you. As robust as what we have now. And so the court system was like, sorry, FCC, you don't have the power to do that. The FTC does. Unless you reclassify yourself as, or reclassified as a Class 2 common carrier, which then falls under the, I forget what the act is from many years ago. And so FCC's like, okay, let's do that. And mind you, the whole time, the STC, who at the time had control, didn't give a shit. They didn't do anything about the internet. So they weren't going to do it. So Tom Wheel, the FCC, is like, I guess we will, because nobody else is. And so everybody was like, the FTC should do it, and they'll do it. Well, no, they're not going to, because they obviously don't care. And that's kind of the whole point of this, is that the FCC actually cares. And that's the whole point, is they're a consumer legislation body of the FCC. They're not supposed to be looking out for the corporations.
That's what Congress is doing.
Yes, right. They're looking out for the freedom of the little people, right?
No. They're looking out for the freedom of the big, powerful, money-hungry people.
So that's what drives me whole crazy, is the verbiage that they're using to try to make like this is about the freedom of the internet, when in fact it's really going to cause the reverse to happen.
The other interesting thing is, if this bill does pass, the FCC would never be able to regain control of the situation.
Well, here's the other tricky part to this, is so mostly we're talking in this case about the bill taking away the FCC's ability to not monitor the internet, but help legislate it. Is this isn't the only place that this has been totally happening. These type of legislations are also taking place for the FDA and the people who do the forest stuff, and whoever does the energy stuff to help make sure we're not smoking up pollutants all day. So all these different agencies are supposed to basically promote and help the consumer to make sure we're not dying early of cancer because there's so much pollution and stuff. Is they're also trying to prevent these other regulatory agencies from also being able to enforce the measures that they're trying to also. So it's not just the internet where this is happening, it's all these different legislative bodies and agencies that they're trying to basically restrict what they can do for the consumer. So
because the consumer knows nothing.
Yes.
It's the companies that provide the services or access to said whatevers. They're the ones who truly understand, and they should have total control.
And of course, the big problem, I know we've talked about this in the past, but the other big issue, of course, with this is it's also that there's the lack of competition in the ISP world. Because let's just say at your house, you had 5 options for internet service providers. let's just
which
say,
would be amazing, but will never happen.
correct. And in a true free market society, if you had those 5 ISPs, net neutrality wouldn't really be such an issue, because then if Network One was like, you know what, we're going to throttle your access to Netflix, and you have to pay, which if net neutrality is not there, this could happen, and you have to pay $5 extra to actually access Netflix.com.
Which would be very beneficial to cable providers. They basically penalizing you for not. They could do this on a user basis where, let's say that you only have an internet connection, you're utilizing Netflix that gives you access to TV shows, like on-demand stuff.
Yep.
Well, then they can charge you extra money, going, well, you're not using our on-demand service, so pay us this extra, and you can use that one.
And of course,
it would be a lot higher than $5.
And of course, you have the huge conflict of interest, because you have Comcast, who owns, what's the cable company?
They own NBC.
Thank you, NBC. So obviously they want you, and obviously they have, TV, so they want you to use their services. And they also have the stake in Hulu. Mm-hmm. So they have a very vested interest in this to basically be able to tip the scales from a very monopolistic standpoint. But again, if you had the 5 ISPs and Comcast decided to do that to you, guess what? You could still choose one of these other ISPs. If that were the case, this would be an issue, because the reality is most of us don't have that choice. We just don't.
No one will ever have that choice.
Yeah, it's just
it would if we could do it, it'd be basically like choosing a cell phone provider. Mm-hmm. You've got your Verizons, you've got your T-Mobiles, you've got your AT&Ts, you've got your Metro PCSs, you've got your Sprints, you've got whatever.
Which is important to note that your cell phone is largely not hampered by the whole net neutrality stuff, because they weren't reclassified in the way that broadband was reclassified.
Now, of course, if you want to get very, very very, very technical, if you actually look at the parent companies of some of the smaller companies, you will find that they are either Sprint, AT&T, or Verizon. So they're the big 3.
Oh, yes.
And then they've got a bunch of other, like Metro PCS is Sprint, T-Mobile its own. I can't remember what the other ones are, but if you were to look through it, you would find out that there's a couple of things like, man, we're much lower than AT&T, and they can say that, and AT&T's fine with that, because it's all the money that goes to that company is going to ultimately go to AT&T. Now, real quick, because I actually know a little bit something about the cable industry, is that once upon a time, the Congress basically said that cable companies, you can have this footprint, and this is exactly where your service is going to be held. And it was really because they didn't want a battle of, well, this cable provider and this cable provider, like 3 different cable providers are available in this one area. Who's supposed to take care of the lines? Because it's all going to be common lines. Mm-hmm. So basically, what they did is they said, boom, this is Comcast area. No one else can come in it. Comcast takes care of all the equipment, all the lines, all the switches, all that stuff. Now, of course, back then, it probably didn't matter that much. Now that we've got so much technology, you've got the internet, you've got a lot more components to it, it really hampers a lot of individuals, because just as we've seen with, I'm going to name a game company, just like we've seen with EA Sports to be specific, yep. And the fact that they had a monopoly on all of the pro franchises, there's no need to improve. Yep. There's no need to try to be the best you could be, because you've got that area locked. So if you then give Comcast the ability to say what websites you can go and can't go to, you have to pay extra for this one, and there's at certain times, if we feel excited to do it, we could basically just drop your internet down to nothing. And you absolutely have no way of going around that.
Yep.
That's why, if this, hopefully this will get shot down and buried behind the backyard shed. But if for some reason this thing were to actually find its way through, I'd be very, very interested to see how fast Google would try to swoop in, because I think Google would actually be on the side of the consumer, because Google Fiber they're building their own infrastructure, so they're not utilizing anyone's lines, so they don't have to share.
The problem too, though, is that even if this legislation doesn't pass, is that the current chairman of the FCC would actually like to do it. They waive these rules too.
I know, because he once upon a time was in one of the big three.
Well, to be fair though, Tom Wheeler was too. But he's also like actually on the side of the consumer. Imagine that. Or I guess I should say was now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like the head of the EPA is like a big oil baron, isn't he?
He was actually under investigation by the EPA, but whatever.
Whatever. Anyways, so I mean, let's hope that this does not happen. Let's remember that that government and voted officials.
Yep.
Like they have a way with words. So internet freedom is actually not meant for you, but for the companies that line their pockets or war chest or whatever.
The thing that gets me is most of the times in politics, I can get that there's the liberal and the conservative side to it, the Republican, the Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get it. You know, there's different viewpoints. From a consumer, this is one of those points about net neutrality. I just don't get the other viewpoint. Unless like you literally like are a CEO for Comcast or one of the big ISPs. This is one of those where, sorry, I just cannot understand or even accept the other side of the argument on this. I just can't.
Well, okay, so this, oh God, since we're going political, let's go. Here's one of the biggest issues. Your elected officials have no idea about everyday life. Okay, they basically their internet, all their services are basically paid for by us, the wonderful citizens of the U.S. And so they don't understand the impact that something like this or other things have on the common man, because they've got Verizon and Comcast or whatever, Ford, Chevrolet whispering in their ears. No. They just don't understand. They'll just give them just stay the line, and the consumer will understand that this is for the best for them.
It's for their freedom.
It's so that they can get the most out of life the way that the businesses want.
And don't forget, it protects the kids too.
Right.
That's always the fallback too.
But
you are right, because that's actually a good point though, because not even just this particular scenario, but
it's like SOPA.
Well, yes, thank you. That's why SOPA is trying to actually ask any of the judges who were judging on it, or the congressman. So what actually is SOPA? Don't read off the damn script. What is it? Like, well, it's about copyright. Like, yeah, it's copyright. Like, that's what's so frustrating. As you put it, is most of them don't even understand how to use a computer, or really how does the internet work. When part of the quote from whoever put it, who the author of this act is like, they want to basically change the infrastructure of the internet and how it works.
Now look, see, here's the vast majority, and this is, I don't know who could put the blame anywhere, but here's the deal. The vast majority of the time that your congressmen or your senators or whomever, they see something, they're told by a representative or one of their buddies how they're going to vote, and so they vote that way. They don't actually pay attention to a lot of it. And so that's how we get dicked over, is because the constituents are like, this is like the best deal in the world. You should definitely say yes, because it says freedom.
Freedom for everyone.
And the unfortunate thing is they will never understand the impact of it, because they're up on Mount High. And of course, nothing's really going to change for them, because they're probably getting gifted stuff from the companies that are going to benefit from this.
Oh yeah, I'm sure if you looked at the donations, there'd be a very clear.
Yeah.
Political gifts is a whole other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get off this. We're going to go 2 down, and I just want to point this out really quick. Ladies and gentlemen, I had the privilege of meeting an amazing author by the name of Dan Jolly. He was at Canuga. I got to. Oh, great!
What?
I screwed up the font on that one for some reason. He was at Canuga, and I got to interview him. I read his book beforehand. It was a phenomenal book called Gray Widow's Walk. This is an awesome book. It's set in Atlanta.
Ooh, do you recognize the places?
Yeah. No,
nice.
he was very, he took a lot of pride in saying, basically landmarks. He added a couple, like he changed the name of like the hospital and stuff.
Okay.
But you could basically see it in your head, the way things are going through.
I'm at West Side Hospital.
Well, he was for this one, Grey Widow's Web, which by the way, you can go to Amazon, you can pre-order it on your Kindle, or you can just go to Dan Jolly's website. I cannot remember the URL off the top of my head. I'll add it in the comments below. But if you actually order from his website, you get a signed copy if you pre-order it. But anyways, in the Widow's Web, his author, his editor was like, why are you saying Ponce? Shouldn't you say Ponce de Leon? Isn't that the name of the street? He goes, yeah, but no one in Atlanta calls Ponce de Leon Ponce de Leon. It's Ponce.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Ponce.
Yeah.
I'm on Ponce.
I don't know the dude's last name.
Yeah.
He's just Ponce.
So anyways, go check out the book. And if you have, actually go find Grey Widow's Walk, read that one. And then I believe at the end of the month, you get to have Grey Widow's Web, which I am dying to get my hands on.
So why do you actually like Grey Widow, besides the whole Atlanta thing? Well, what is it about the books that you like?
It's a female superhero who has the ability to blink from shadow to shadow.
Okay.
But there is kind of like a side effect to her blinking. There's kind of like this alien presence that's also there that she's battling.
Right.
She's got a super powered suit that allows her to increase her strength and everything.
While she can blink too.
Yeah.
She sounds OP, man.
It's a great.
She needs a nerf.
I stumbled upon the book by accident, and I do not regret a single moment that I stumbled upon that book, because I basically flew through it, because I saw, it's a trilogy. Wanted to get the next book, and it's like, nope, there's no next book. And then I ran into Dan at Canuga. We struck up a conversation about his first book.
Yep.
He said that the next one is coming in May, and I'm ready for it.
And because main female protagonists are kind of rare in books, another one to check out if you're into that is the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. Basically, it's Ven is the protagonist. She's a female, and it's just a really cool trilogy about her doing her thing. As it's a very fantasy, magic-y type of world, very unique magic and world building. So if you all want to check out another phenomenal series with a very strong female protagonist, check out the Mistborn trilogy, which Brandon Sanderson, yes, he's the same author who also finished Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time when he passed away. So same exact author, which I'm pretty sure it's a series I'll never read because it's too damn long. But yeah.
Anyways, the really cool thing about Dan Jolly's book, real quick before we move on, is the fact that when he first wrote the book, it was a male. It was a male lead character, and it just didn't work. And so he changed it. It was James, and he changed it to Jane. I think it's Jane. And all of a sudden, it just clicked.
Nice.
And that was awesome. All right. Moving on to the next one.
There we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to once again tell you that Battle and Brew is an amazing place to go to, and they also like to help out the local streamers. So if you are a local streamer of the Atlanta area or the surrounding area of Atlanta, definitely reach out to Battle and Brew and see if they will add you to their preferred or spotlight streamers. The thing is, Battle and Brew is amazing. It's 18 plus, so it will take some gamers out. But there's fully souped up TVs that have a bunch of video game consoles. There's souped up computers. There's board games. There's a coffee bar. There's a fully stocked bar with beer and liquor and all that stuff, and a phenomenal menu that's always changing.
I was sad to see that their draft beer hit menu kind of went down a little bit, though.
Well, they had to.
I know.
There was no way that they were going to be able. They were losing a lot of money because there were some beers that just weren't going to sell because no one knew about them or whatever. So check out Battle and Brew.
Battle and brew.
And then, of course, as some of you might know, one of our favorite people in the whole wide world, Wet Kid 47, is coming down to Atlanta in the near future. And when he does, we're going to Battle and Brew. We will show him a new tab. All right, here we go. All right, on to the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a thing called Patreon. Patreon is basically a place to show your love and support for some of your favorite creators. We, of course, have a Patreon page, and that Patreon page is a monthly donation. It gets automatically deducted from whatever you set up, your bank account, your credit card, and it goes straight into the Alter Confusion pot, I guess is the best way to put it. And that money is simply for Alter Confusion, for like equipment updates, website fees, video equipment, software, all that stuff. Basically, what we're doing is we're trying to offset some of the cost for like conventions and stuff so that Alter Confusion can thrive in every single way possible. Oops. With trying to give as much love to independent creators as possible. So if you are able to give a financial pledge, that would be amazing. If you feel more comfortable with doing a one-time pledge, of course you can hit the donate now button, and that will do, it's through PayPal, it does a one-time, you can put whatever amount of money and boom. If you're doing the monthly subscription, you can basically pledge any amount per month. I think you can start at $1 and you can go up to whatever. So
are we still working on the Amazon wish list? I know we've looked at it.
Yes. I will post it very, very shortly. Because I know there's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to do that. You won't spend my money on Mountain Dew. Correct. That Mountain Dew and cat food come out. Well, cat food comes out of his actual.
It comes out of my Alter Confusion budget.
He doesn't have an Alter Confusion budget.
What?
No.
I thought I had a credit card.
Nope.
Wait, that's not the Alter Confusion credit card I've been using?
Nope.
Shit.
Yep.
No wonder I'm so much in debt.
Yep. The Mountain Dew comes out of mine. So anyways, let's do the Extra Life one real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, as everyone knows, Extra Life is an amazing charity organization that all pledges or donations to said organization go towards the Children's Miracle Network. Every single team or creator has the ability to select what exact location you want your pledges to be a part of. So for Alter Confusion, we do Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. That's where all the money will go to. We
Indeed.
don't. So
Charlie knows it very well. It's just like a second home.
Yes, I went there after falling 15 feet backwards, bouncing off a ladder and hitting the concrete slab in my parents' garage. I've also been there in the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta hospital thanks to a fishhook in my head. I've also been to the Children's Healthcare Atlanta hospital because sick children. My son was sick, had a really bad asthma attack, so I spent a couple days with him there. So yeah, I am very, very big on supporting Children's Healthcare Atlanta, and one of the best ways to do it is through Extra Life.
And of course, when your kids have it, it means even more.
Exactly. And now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to make one thing abundantly clear.
Abundantly.
Because I know a lot of people. Look, I know there's a lot of people out there who have very, very good hearts, and they want to give as much as they can. But there are also those individuals who only want to give if they get something in return. So the best I can tell you for the Extra Life thing is that it's tax deductible, so you can deduct on your taxes. So congratulations. So. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've reached the end of the show. This has been a very interesting show with the our video going down and up and down and up, and then our audio not working. So we're just going to close it down for this evening. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning into the Alter Confusion Thursday Night Hangout. It's been a pleasure to give you everything coming out of our heads, our mouths, and of course, our hearts. We'll be back next Thursday for another Thursday Night Hangout. Of course, we also stream Tuesdays and Sundays, where the vast majority of the time it's going to be Smite for a while because that's what I'm really into, and there's a reason why I'm only doing Smite, but I can't tell you that.
Charlie just really likes Smite.
Yes. So, ladies and
We
gentlemen,
actually played Smite on Tuesdays.
Yes, we did.
Amazing!
yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Remember, kids, keep on gaming in the free world.
Amen to that, brother.